following announcement has been paid for by the Celtic World Order.
Hello there, good evening, welcome back to Celtic World Order. I'm always Steve O'Matt and I'm joined with my bearded brother. He's back. Forget the Gallagher brothers, forget any other reunions. This is the only double act duo that bloody well matters to be back. The band's back together, the boys are back in town. Paddy, it's good to see you, mate. Welcome back.
It's good to be back, mate. It's good to be back in the dry land, shall we say. Hammered it down the road today. I had a friend's funeral, which, what a send-off, what an absolute send-off. I'd just like to say a massive well done to all of the bikers and stuff who attended at Mark Dillon's funeral today. What a send-off that guy got. Absolutely unbelievable. So, well done to every one of them. And yeah, it was like a rebel party. You wouldn't have seen this as well, mate. The tunes were blaring. As he was getting lowered down, they were playing Ooh Ah Up There, which I thought was quite touching. It was nice.
Me. Whatever floats your boat, I suppose. But there we go. Listen, a funeral's always a somber mood, and certainly there we go. It's a friend of yours you've seen away. Whatever style they want to do it in, that's their choice. Anyway, welcome back to the channel. As we say, it's a pleasure to have everybody here. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome as always. We are greatly appreciative. If you're new to the channel, it's also a warm welcome extended your way as well. Make sure whatever you do, though, before you leave, give us a wee thumbs up. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. It just helps get more bodies in the door here. Spread the word, grow the community, which is doing so well. If you want to get us elsewhere, we're on X at CWPod1888. There we go. That's us. But Paddy, there's a lot of ground to cover. And it's been mainly on myself, to be honest with you. So it's always good to have a wee bit of back and forward, somebody else in the house to talk about it. So as we always do, when we get these, when you return back for the middle of the ocean, we bit of a catch up, mate, because I've not had a real chance to speak to yourself about the football, what we've seen in that. But off the back of the Bratislava match, obviously the Falkirk game and the Cup all changed, a wee bit sketchy there. Where are you at the moment? What's your general feeling around where we are placed as a club moving forward and the results?
We're playing well. The Bratislava game, I was very impressed. Obviously, you've got to look at the opposition. You don't play Diddies in that format in the Champions League, let's face it. However, it was probably going to be our easiest game in the group. I thought we played really, really well. I was very impressed with Nicholas Kuhn. He's just come on to an absolute fantastic game. Bratislava, yeah, they come in, they done what they had to do at the beginning. I think they were a bit shell-shocked with Parkhead. You've seen their players all kind of looking about with big smiles on their faces, and social media has been awash with their fans with all of their videos, and you can hear them going, oh my God, look at this. That's what Celtic Park does. It's an experience for all of these people. So result-wise, incredible. Absolutely incredible. I was very, very pleased with the result. The Falkirk game, I was sitting on the rig watching it with a Falkirk fan.
They exist in real life?
They do exist in real life, mate, and I tell you what, I was getting hounded. I had the wee bet offshores, a Marabou. It's like a Swedish bar of chocolate, but that size. And if there's ever any football games on, so we'll stick a Marabou on it. So I gave him 2 goals at a start for this Marabou, and I'm sitting going, oh, here we go. That's 3 goals down. We're going to need to win here, like with 4 goals now. We're going to need to melt them. Then we get 1 back. I'm like, right, here we go. And then obviously 2-1. I'm sitting thinking, I'm down a Marabou. And it's only like £3, but it's the thought behind it. You know what I mean? But you know what, mate? I was raging. I thought, this is shooting. I'm getting a big bar of chocolate here. I could taste it already. Come half time, I'm gutted, ready to go buy the chocolate already. And then again, come the introduction of Nicholas Kuhn. What a guy! He come on and literally 14 minutes changed that game. And I'll let you know right now that bar of chocolate was gorgeous.
Well, I'm glad you get some entertainment out of it in more ways than one. But no, like the thing is, we've all been on a high, haven't we, in terms of how we've been playing domestically. The cups, we've lost. We've lost the only goals that we've lost, really, bar the Bratislava came in the cups. And I suppose you can count Europe as a cup as well, if you will. But it was quite, when I came on here and I was talking about it, I thought it was quite a surprising performance, shall we say. And the big thing that for me was talking about whether players that were on the periphery that were given a chance would have stepped up. Now, we kind of thought they would get some level of rotation, we'd maybe expect that. What did you think when you saw that completely all change back four for a kick-off? I mean, what was your thoughts there? I mean, quite surprising, to be honest, but was it, do you think we were maybe taking them for a wee bit lightly, taking them for a bit of a joke, if we will, despite how well they're playing?
Yeah, listen, they're playing really well, aren't they? I had flashbacks of last year, flashbacks of the Kelly game. I think Brendan knew that we had to use the squad, and I think he's done it the wrong way. I think changing the full back four was a massive mistake. The front three you could kind of go with. You go, right, no problem. Still potential in there, but changing the back four, I thought, oh no, this has got shades of Kelly all over it. And I wasn't wrong. You just need to look at that first half. There was a lot of mistakes in there. There was a lot of positive things as well. Young Valley setting up the goal and stuff. It was a good headed ball down and stuff. But yeah, there was a hell of a lot of negative in there. With some of the new boys for me. Trusty looked a bit legged. Maybe that's just down to game time and whatever else, but it seemed to look as if he was towing a tractor at one point when the Falkirk player's running away from him. But do you know what? Listen, you've got to give these guys a chance. You've got to give them out of there. And if you can't do it against Falkirk, who can you do it against?
Well, see with that, Paddy, I just wanted, it's interesting you say that, because after the back of that, I've seen quite a lot of different takes on things. And, rightly or wrongly, a lot of people have been jumping on players. Now, we see this amongst our fan base, and we see particularly ourselves as a sort of podcast and channel that are putting our opinions out there and talking about it. There's a lot of people that don't like whenever you maybe bring up something that needs improvement. What I would say is, I think that some of the reactions to Young Vai and perhaps even Trusty are a wee bit, well, not a wee bit, they're far too premature. I think it's very unfair. Yeah. I think that they're the kind of guys that ideally you want to drop them into something that lightly resembles what the normal back four would be. So if you had Carter Vickers there and if you had Johnson, you were maybe dropping in one, maybe even two, both on the left or one on the other. They need to be playing alongside what the norm is, to really, for my value for money, get a proper take on where they are, because the whole back line's at sixes and sevens, never played together. There's no level of actual consistency there. So I think it's harsh to really judge them on an early showing, right? So that's what I want to say about that. However, one player that did bring up, and I certainly covered the video on it, and I found it quite interesting. It was really interesting to hear everybody's opinions that were going on there. Very mixed, but, largely a lot were on the sort of same wavelength as myself. He was one for me, Paddy, in that game in particular, who I was very, very disappointed with. And it's not been for the first time this season, if I'm being completely honest. And not even forget this season, because game time's been limited. But even from when he started to tail off at the end of last season. Now, in terms of Palmer, I spoke about him. And as I say, I want any player that pulls on a Celtic top to kick on, be a success, turn it round, maybe even prove people wrong. But you've got to call it based on what you can see. Now, unlike guys like Vi, unlike guys like Trusty, he knows what it means to play for Celtic. He knows the expectation levels. He's got all his peers around him, levelling up, picking up their game and kicking on. What was your thoughts in particular of Lewis Palmer's performance there, the subsequent social media post, and really what do you think the future looks like for him from your end, mate?
Resilience. One of the ones. Do you know what? I've said it before about him. I'm not his biggest fan. I think he's far too greedy. He doesn't always have the eye for the pass. I think if he sees the chance to beat two players, he'll try it. He'll try and beat the two players and have a dig on goal rather than play an easy pass to set up one of his teammates. He doesn't drive to the byline as much as I would like him to either. I've always said that. He cuts back inside. He's very predictable. He's not as fast as what we're used to playing as well. We've got Dyson on one side and Kuhn on the other, even James Forrest. These guys are rapid. They're quick players, and they terrorise defences. When Palmer's on, you don't seem to get that. The guy has got ability. He's a decent enough player, but he doesn't show it often enough for me. And he goes for the harder option all the time. Kind of like McGeady used to do. Like McGeady would beat 10 players and kick the ball out of the park. And listen, Aidan was a brilliant player, and I really enjoyed watching him. But it was so frustrating sometimes because he would take on that extra player. And Palmer seems to be doing that. He would rather take on an extra player than play an easy pass. And I just think, I don't know, is that we got another Mikey Johnson here? Is it top too heavy for him? Like you said, we want them to do well. We want anybody who pulls on a Celtic jersey to kick on and go for it and be the best that they can be. If this is the best that he can be, then it's not good enough as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We're always going to have an opinion here, and it's a subject that was coming up. A lot of people were talking about it, and just for the avoidance of doubt, we're a Celtic podcast, right? We talk about stuff. We talk about what's swirling about amongst the fans, and Luis Palma was a big one that was really splitting opinions. As we say, there's no witch hunt here. We're rather talking about what we see with our eyes. And I think if we're all honest with ourselves, deep down, as much as we hope and wish for guys to kick on, he's simply not doing it at this moment in time. And that begs the question, Paddy, because we now find ourselves going into, as it says, Saturday night Celtic, because we've got this peculiar, unusual, late 5 after 5, before 6, 1:45 kick-off, thanks to the glory that is an extended sort of side deal for televised rights. So we're getting this strange kick-off down in Perth against St Johnstone. And with one eye around the corner on a certain team that I'm wearing tonight, there's going to be the thought, you're playing against a St Johnstone team, bang out of form, and we've got bigger fish to fry, albeit the domestic's always going to be our bread and butter. That's the one you've always got to make sure you're getting your results there, because staying in top, winning the league, that's the key to getting into Europe, first and foremost. But are we going to see some level of rotation in the squad, do you think, for that game tomorrow night? And if so, looking at the guys that we've just discussed, do you think it'll be as drastic as that going into the St Johnstone game?
I don't think it's going to be as drastic as that. If anybody's watched Brendan Rodgers' interview, they'll know that Carter Vickers is carrying an injury on his toe. I think he's managed to kick a door or something, or stop at the end of a table. There's nothing worse, is there? Carter Vickers is struggling with something like that, so he's not going to be playing. Brendan said that. So we're going to have somebody coming in. Is that going to be Welsh or Trusty? I would imagine it's going to be Trusty in there with Liam Scales. Johnson, he did say, is fit and well. So I would have Johnson in there along with Taylor. So you're only really changing one in there. Brendan also said that he would get the game done and the team that started wouldn't be the team that finished. So I think it's going to be a strong side. I think he's going to go out all guns blazing. And then once we are up at half-time, bring off some players and give them a well-earned rest for the game coming up against Dortmund.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I watched the press conference with the manager, and to be honest, there wasn't really too much covered with regards to the opposition. It was all very looking towards the game against Dortmund, and then a couple of, there was quite a lot of talk about Scott Brown, for example, because he was, in the picture, as it were, for the St Johnstone job, but then it turned out he'd done a contract extension. So in terms of looking at it, as you say, he mentioned that it was a sort of toe-stroke metatarsal injury they had for Carter Vickers. And what was quite interesting was the fact that he said that it's been something that he's been bothering him for a while now, been playing through that pain barrier and getting on with it. And when he was pushed or asked, he didn't necessarily say it's not getting worse, but it's a level of discomfort that we don't want him to be in. So, right, okay, that's one way of putting it. But it seems as if he's definitely going to be out for that one. He was asked if it was going to be ready for the game against Dortmund, and he was non-committal on it. He was very sort of standoffish and didn't want to say one way or another. You've got to imagine, though, that with no training, it's probably going to come too soon for him, is it not?
It's like the old transfer stuff again, isn't it? He's keeping his cards close to his chest. When you ask them about stuff like this, they're always like, they can't come out and just say, do you know what, yeah, he's going to be in the starting lineup. You don't want to give that information away. You keep that stuff close to your chest and you go, yeah, do you know what, he might be fit.
Mm-hmm.
If I was a gambling man, I would say Carter Vickers is going to start against Dortmund. Alongside Scales, Taylor and Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That's
well, the thing with that is, Paddy, though, what the manager did say is when he was talking about Carter Vickers, where he says with the pain and with him sort of struggling by, he's not quite hitting the levels that we expect or we want him to be at. That's fine and farewell. That makes good point. But if he's given a layoff to try and recover an injury, in terms of hitting those levels, is it a calculated risk to throw him in if he's even, let's say, 85% fit? Because if he's not hitting the levels for obvious reasons, because he's technically injured, how's he going to hit the levels if he's not been playing, if he's not been training, if he's not been getting that fitness in?
Remember we had this before. We were talking about Callum McGregor. Would you rather have a 60% Callum McGregor in there than a fully fit Rio Hitati or things like that?
Yeah, I do recall this.
It's that question, isn't it? Would you rather have a 70% fit Carter Vickers or have Trusty? You've got to say Carter Vickers. He's proven, he's solid, he's a fridge at the back, isn't he? He's the reliability in there. It shows Luis Palmer's resilience every game. And that's the kind of player that you want. You want him in there. He leads by example. If anything ever happened and Callum was out, Carter Vickers is stepping up to be our captain. And you can see that. He's got that written all over him. He's one of the players, he's commanding, he shows what it means. He gets other players involved, and he's just an absolute stalwart in that defence. And for me, he has to start. He has to start against Dortmund. This is one of the biggest games of our season, and for me, he's got to be in there. 78% fit, 60% fit or not, he's in there.
Yeah. What about the terms of, we saw obviously the switches in the Falkirk game, and a very surprising, albeit extremely late addition that came on was Malik Narodsky, where he get best by maybe 6 minutes or something. It seemed peculiar at the time, but again, coming back to these options, you've got to say straight away at the weekend or tomorrow, shall I say, and then definitely for Dortmund, it's going to be Liam Scales. He's going to be in there, right? But then that opens up the who's going to be beside him. But now, Trusty is more of a left-sided type of player. Narodsky can switch in between there. We've obviously seen Welsh. I don't think Welsh covered himself in glory either.
No.
Now, Malik Narodsky getting an appearance, is that maybe a wee step for a hint of what we might get? Is that a surprise curveball that could be thrown in? If so, would you be more comfortable with a Narodsky who has had zero time on a pitch versus trying to shoehorn in essentially two left-hand sided centre-backs in the way of Trusty and Scales?
Do you know what? I think 7 minutes is the longest that Narodsky's actually lasted on a park without getting carted off injured. So fair play to him. He's obviously been working on that. I don't know. We've not seen enough of the guy. We really haven't. He's been here a while and we really, really haven't seen what he's got. There's obviously something in there if he's managed to keep his space. Like you said, Trusty is left-sided like Scales. Do you put him in? Do you risk that, or do you go? For me, then the only other option is Stephen Welsh, who, like you said, doesn't cover himself in absolute glory, but is the natural successor in there, isn't he? It's essentially the one that would step in.
Yeah.
Which kind of gives you the fear.
Well, as I say, look, they're just questions to have, because whether the manager will admit it or not, we're going against I was looking at St Johnstone side here, so in terms of their form, right? Their form's shocking in the last 6. 1 win, 5 losses, 1 draw, 7. So their 1-1 came in a surprise 3-0 away win to Kelly, which Kelly were one of the better teams last season, as we all know, but they've been absolutely red raw as terms of this season's gone. 2-1 loss to Aberdeen, 2-0 to Dundee United, 2-0 to Hibs again, another team really, really struggling. Of course, they had that 2-0 cup loss to Rangers, and a 2-1 loss to Motherwell. And their draws came by way of a 3-3 draw at County, which was, again, a very surprising result for them considering the circumstances. They're 8 goals for, they're 13 against. In terms of talking about being team playing in an absolute slump, it doesn't get any better than that. Craig Levein paid with his job, and now they've got a caretaker manager in place. They're sitting 10th in the league. We maybe took Falkirk for granted, but Falkirk are a team that are in the Championship. They play attractive football. They play the right way, and they came to Celtic Park and they showed exactly what they're all about.
Yeah.
You can't expect that out of St Johnstone, surely.
No, listen, McGlynn's got Falkirk playing absolutely fantastic football, and you've seen that. It was absolutely amazing to watch a team come at Celtic like that. And you're not going to get that on Saturday. You're really not going to get them coming at us. I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen the old Craig Levein, 4-6 formation.
4-6-0.
As per, that's it, 4-6-0. Stick them in there. But do you know what? We can't take them for granted. Statistically, going on what you're saying, I'm going to have to step away from my 4-0 and probably going to have to go a wee bit higher if we play a full squad there. But do you know what? Listen, we can't underestimate anybody in the league. They're there, and they're going to try and frustrate Celtic. They're going to try and sit in. They're going to try and do what they do. Can they do it? Nah, I don't think they can. I think we've got far too much firepower in there. We just need to be solid enough at the back so that we can get it over the line.
What would cover rotation for tomorrow look like for you, Paddy? Because we say, look, whether we want to say that that's the case or not, we will have one eye on Dortmund, right? Because that's the more glamorous game. It's the one that's worth a lot more money, and certainly it's where we want to progress. Even if you drop points, I don't for a minute think that we will drop points away to St Johnstone, but you know yourself in the league, it's a marathon. So one misstep's not the end of the world. Whereas when you're in the Champions League, literally every single point's a prisoner, and you've got to take as much as you can get. And we'll be wanting to kick on. We'll want to show that we've got something off the back of Bratislava's performance, even though it was Bratislava. Nonetheless, you want to kick on. So it says, what would cover rotation look for you? We're not going to go down that route of the madness that we did against Falkirk, but is this the kind of game that, for you, would you be looking to perhaps maybe start Luke McCowan in midfield, maybe taking out either Engels or Hatate, for example? And in terms of up front, Kyogo, yes, we know that he can miss a million chances and score one, but it's pretty clear that when it comes to Europe, that he's going to be the kind of go-to guy for those kind of run-in behind the way that we want to play. So would you be inclined to start again with Ida in this game as well, given that it's probably going to be a wee bit more physical, different type of game, and also just the nature of wanting to protect Kyogo, if you will, for the game against Dortmund?
Yeah, I agree with quite a lot there. McCowan, I think, would be a great shout to start in the middle of the park. Resting, like you said, either Engels, McGregor even. You don't really want to rest Callum, though, do you? Callum's going to be in there, so you've got to hit Callum, McCowan, and probably Bernardo. Rio's been a bit off the boil recently. I think he's in need of a wee rest. Ida up front gives you the option of a long ball, doesn't he? He gives that kind of, like you say, Route 1 football, straight over the top, as you call it, chaos ball. Always gives you that option that we're used to seeing for the other side of Glasgow. But it's nice to have against these teams. Guys like Palma, I don't think he'll get a sniff. I think we've got to start with Dyson and Kuhn in order to give that firepower. And like Brendan says, I don't think they'll finish the game. I think James Forrest, maybe Yang, even James Forrest and Yang possibly got on for a wee cameo appearance in there.
So are you thinking more along the lines of try and go almost full throttle, kill the game, bring guys off for a rest, rather than doing it in reverse?
Rather than doing it in reverse. What's the point in doing it in reverse? Dortmund, I think, tried to do that tonight and ended up 2-0 down. And they've had to bring on the decent
how that
players.
one is panning
I think
out, actually.
It was 4-2 the last I've seen.
4-2 full time it finished. So they did monumental comeback.
They've managed to pull it back. They've done it the opposite way. They played basically the kind of team we played against Falkirk and went 2-0 down and went, right, wait a minute, we still need to concentrate on this. And then they've brought on their superstars or whatever and managed to pull back a result out of it. Do you know what? I don't actually fear them as well. Yeah, we need to be full squad. Of course we do. We need to be firing on all cylinders. But I'm quite confident going into this weekend and onward to the Champions League as well.
That's fighting talk, Paddy. I like that. I do like that. That's it. I like a wee bit of fight, but it's kind of funny because we were getting slagged off, weren't we, for being optimistic about a 5-1 win at home against Bratislava. And then I don't know if anybody bothered to watch it last night, but there was some low quality football on show last night. And you want to talk about resurrections, come back for the dead again. I don't know I don't know, mate. I thought they had beat Real Madrid or something. So
I think we need the money more than we do, huh?
Aye, so I think there you go. It's quite interesting after how things can turn, isn't it? You've had a team that were getting set on fire with their fans and their age was there, and then a 2-0 win against an extremely poor team, playing extremely poorly themselves, may I add, and always rose in the garden. The media were pushing that narrative, but this is what we're going. There's going to be a narrative that we're going to be pushed off against, unfortunately, Paddy, and that is once upon a time Rangers played Dortmund and actually done pretty well against them, regardless of what you thought of that Dortmund side. And that's going to be a very unfortunate stick that they're going to hopefully not be able to beat us around the head with. But if we look at Dortmund as it stands at the moment, form hasn't been absolutely fantastic, as you say, as they find themselves mid-table at the moment. They were off the back of a 5-1 loss to Stuttgart last week as well. A bit of a surprise package. And in terms of Dortmund sides, they've got undoubted massive amounts of talent in there, but they're still somewhere off where they had been. Second in the league, 10 points, 5 games played, 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. Goal difference of +2. It's not exactly the free-flowing Dortmund. All right, they're second place. You see what you're talking about, Steve, but it's not exactly setting the header alight in terms of the way that they're used to be playing. What do you think we need to do against a team like this? Because we said before about European, about mixing it up, and the term I was using was to be a wee bit pragmatic. Now, anytime we've went out and tried to simply just play our way of football without compromise, it's been beautiful losers.
Yeah.
It's been we've held it. They've done really well for 35 minutes, 40 minutes, and then, the walls came crashing in. Do we approach it in the same way? Do we still go for this high-octane press and passing, or do we try to tighten it up a wee bit? And again, that for me comes back to the midfield, where I had championed the idea of not playing Hatate for that very reason.
Yeah. Listen, Glasgow Harley Riders says it there. Game management is what it's all about. Dortmund, we know their strengths, we know their weaknesses. Adeyemi on the left, he's their main man. He's the one that gets to the byline and puts the crosses in. He's their Nicholas Kuhn. He's going to be up against Johnson. Do you know what? I fancy Johnson against him. He'll match him for pace up and down that wing. And Adeyemi's not come up against a lot of players that can actually match him for pace. And he's also not come up against a lot of players that are going to put him into the stand if he gets past them. And let's face it, Johnson's not scared to put a big tackle in. Plus, you've got guys like Kuhn, who tracking back-wise is absolutely incredible as well. For me, he's becoming the full package because he's getting to the byline up the park when we're attacking, and he's back at the byline defending when he needs to be as well, which is absolutely incredible, and it's what you need for that type of winger. A lot of their goals come through the middle of the park as well. They're not necessarily aligned. Everything's either down the left-hand side with Adeyemi or through the middle with Julian Brandt. And that's kind of what you need to nullify. I think Callum McGregor will have Brandt on toast. I really do.
You're coming out with the bold predictions tonight, Paddy.
I really do. I think Callum will get him in his pocket early doors and just nullify him. And once you nullify guys like Julian Brandt, these teams have got nothing. They've got absolutely nothing, mate. And the big players kind of look, they're players, they're superstars essentially, they're strikers, and their other players will start to look at these guys and go, right, wait a minute, what's going on here? What are we doing? What are we supposed to be doing? And they're not going to have an answer. And that's when Celtic need to capitalise on it. And if we hit them with a high press and we hit them with this possession football that we're doing, I think we'll do them. I really do.
So a good result for you looks like a win. And that's what you're going with. You're going with a win. Well, do you know what? I can't. I'm not going to sit here and criticise. I commend the optimism. I think that in terms of getting a real test, I think this is going to be far more an indication as to where we really are. And
100%. This is going to show us where we are. This is going to show us what kind of level we're at. You can beat everybody. You can beat Kilmarnock, Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen, Rangers. Yeah, let's do it. Let's beat them. But listen,
I mean,
this is when you go up against the big boys. This is when it matters.
I mean, I think if we look at it, as we say, in terms of the draw, right, there's some tough away games, as we well know. Atalanta as well, Dortmund, Villa, right. Dynamo Zagreb, they are what they are. They were the more favourable, if you want to call that. But in terms of saying teams that we want to beat, and it's no disrespect, so look, I'm not foolish. I know what Dortmund are, and I know how good a team Dortmund are. But in terms of what we might have played previously, when you're looking at a Real Madrid, they're not a Real Madrid. And they're one of these sides who they are historically fantastic at regenerating, coming up with new stars, bringing through. They maybe have wee dips for a season or two, but largely they've stayed fairly consistent in the top for a while still turning over players and changing things up. But I think in terms of sides that we're going to be playing and getting a sort of real measure for where we are, it's probably one of the better teams to play. And as I say, it's not being ignorant to how top quality they are. But if it was Bayern Munich, for example, if you were looking at Bayern Munich for Germany, or you were looking at even Bayern Leverkusen, to me, those two are far superior than Dortmund. Dortmund, for me, fall into that. They're still an elite club. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying, but they're almost in that kind of like mid-tier where you would say, if you do what you need to do, beatable. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, of course it is. Like you said, if you had to pick one, if somebody says to you, all right, let's pick between Bayern Munich, Bayer Leverkusen and Dortmund, you're going to pick Dortmund. It's going to be the one you go, I will take them. We'll give it a shot against them. I said, I'm not putting them down. I know what they've done.
Does the away factor there worry you any? I mean, Celtic, historically, as you well know, do not travel particularly well in Europe. We always talk about the intimidation factor of Celtic Park and under the lights and all that kind of stuff. When you go over to that sort of, German football, under the lights or under the pyros, it'll be the yellow wall and everything.
Yeah.
Even though our players are used to playing in quote-unquote cauldrons, if you will, is it something else? Is there an intimidation factor there that you would be concerned could maybe eat into some of our players, or is it something that's going to kick you on, do you think? Is it more of a positive? These are the atmospheres I want to be playing in, rather than, God, I don't fancy that.
I don't think our players would get intimidated going into it. I think Celtic Park intimidates people because of the noise level, because it's because of the stature, the way the stadium is. I think that's what gets teams when they come in. Like I said, I spoke about the Slovan Bratislava players looking about and being like, oh my God. Dortmund, I think, coming to Celtic Park would still have been intimidated. But I think Celtic going there, do you know what? It's an occasion. The yellow wall is one of the most famous parts of any stadium in the world. It's incredible, do you know what I mean? And it'd be absolutely unbelievable to be there and see it. So if anybody's going, listen, enjoy it, take it in, drink it in, and enjoy your night. I think it's going to be a massive occasion. Do I think our players will fold? No. I think they're hardened to it. They've had European nights at Celtic Park. They've had these so-called big, massive games and stuff like that. Atletico Madrid last year, the atmosphere at that game was absolutely fantastic. So, listen, I don't think any stadium in the world could intimidate us. I think we're our own team. If it does intimidate us, we just need to make sure that we get the head down in the first 10 minutes and silence the crowd, which is what I think we'll do. I think you go to a place like that, you've got to go hammer and tongs for the first 10, 20 minutes and absolutely try and silence the crowd, because if you don't, they're going to be on your back all night, and then the singing and the atmosphere will take over and you will eventually let it get to you.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how things go. I find this quite interesting here. I'm not really sure if Brian's taking the context of what we're saying. We know what Dortmund are. Very good team. And what we were saying was that in terms of some of the top tier European teams that we've been coming up against, Dortmund are somewhere in the mid tier of that. So yes, it is a good opportunity to see where we are in terms of our European development. I think that's very fair to say. They're not Bayern Munich, they're not Real Madrid, not even PSG or Man City, despite having probably the good and favourable results against them in the past. I think Dortmund are very much a team that are an attractive proposition. But as we say, in terms of the upper echelons of the sides that we could have got, definitely fallen into one of the more favourable. They don't take the word favourable as shite or not good, because that's not what we're saying. But I do think it'll be a good gauge, because even similar to in terms of looking at RB, for example, RB, Leipzig, again, they're another side that I think are, on their day, can be very much in that Dortmund mould. I think they can be, you look at them and say, not too fairly comparable when they're on their game. Again, they're a side that sort of flutter up and down, peak and trough, but it's definitely a game that we've got to be looking at and thinking, can we try and get anything out of this game? You're obviously full of the beans, Paddy. I'll never change you. I'm thinking here, if you could scrape, and I do say scrape, exactly, you're full of something else as well. But if I could say we could scrape, I'll take scrape, mate. I will take a pragmatic one each, nothing each, I don't care each. I'll take it. Any point away is going to be like gold dust to us, because we were looking at it and we profiled the Champions League and we sort of says 9 points gives you, I think, around about a 70% chance of getting through. 10 to 12 points puts you in that deep 79 sort of percentage, according to the supercomputer that they get these things working out. So that's what we've got to be looking at, and thinking anything away from home is definitely going to be favourable. When we look at it now, obviously our very, very last game is going to be against Villa. Things could be wrapped up with there as well, so that could make that slightly more favourable in terms of maybe taking something for that. Atalanta, kind of much, I don't know, I just didn't fancy that one whatsoever. But I've always felt that Dortmund's going to be one that will be interesting, and I don't see a draw, a hard-earned draw as being out of the equation. But we'll need to see how that one goes. But we'll be looking forward to that. But of course, down to the main bread and butter is tomorrow against St Johnstone. Got to be optimistic in getting through that one. As the manager says, it's quite a quick turnaround though, but a late one on a Saturday. You're going to have basically Sunday, Monday to recoup, and then you're going to have to get your body over there. In fact, you're probably not even going to get Monday. You'll maybe do a Monday late afternoon session, maybe an early morning, something, flight over there and a run around at the stadium. So it's going to be pretty a quick turnaround. And in terms of that as well, Paddy, it's unfortunate the way the games are falling for us there, isn't it? And, you know, that game comes back to about Harrider saying about this game management and squad management, because you know, we often sit here and criticise when we hear players are tired and we think, Jesus Christ, players are tired. You know, we look at tennis players and the likes, but could that be a telling thing? Because they're going to have the best bit of 4 days before the players, whereas we're going to be closer to 2.
Yeah, Dortmund are playing tonight. That's it. They've had their game on a Friday night. The Germans are always like that. They always like to try and help their teams out. Whereas SFA, I don't really see helping any teams in Scotland when it comes to that. And I include the other teams across the city and any other team in Europe in that matter. We never seem to get like a holiday essentially in there. Like, oh, do you know what? We can postpone that game or give you the Friday night game or whatever. Never seems to happen. And here's us, like you say, getting a Saturday night kickoff. Even if it was a 3 o'clock kickoff, it's only a couple of hours, but it's a couple of hours rest that's well needed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you know what? I don't agree with it, but I think going forward, we just fucking deal with it. They're professional footballers. It's what they're paid to do. As Roy Keane would say, just go out and do your job. I mean,
yeah. Well, there's not really been other side of looking at the games. It's felt like a kind of quiet week. Don't know if you got that feeling in terms around about sort of chatter around the Celtic and things happening. It was a wee bit of a quiet one, but another, talking of Champions League and look at another facet of the Celtic squad, the the women's team were able to qualify for the Champions League for the women's, which is, it's got to be it's a first time, isn't it, actually?
Yeah, it's the first time that a men's and a women's team have been in the group stage in the Champions League for Scottish football, yeah. So, massive congratulations to them. I managed to catch some of it. Do you know what? Absolutely brilliant. The girls are doing incredible.
Chelsea, Real Madrid, and Twente. They get there.
Bring them on.
They'll be feeling confident for that, and that can only be positive for us as well, for terms of profile for the club as well, to have two sort of male and female team both playing in the respective versions of the Champions League there as well. And again, in terms of, we're talking about testing and proving grounds, if they want to realise what their potential is and how good they actually are, then that's going to be really quite telling. I don't know enough. I'm not going to sit here and profess to be some expert on the women's game, but you tend to notice, or at least that I've seen, usually when our female senior teams play against, say, English female senior teams, there looks like there's quite a large gulf in quality there. So could it be a wee bit of what's your expectations, if any, for the women getting into the 3 games? Is this literally going to be, which we are saying we don't want to be, is it we're happy to be there because it's the first time, it's a benchmark with little expectation? Or do you think that they'll be expecting to get anything?
Listen, I think it's just going to be they're happy to be there. I'm like yourself, I'm not an expert on it. I've been to a few games with the kids and stuff. Maybe need to get Natasha Miko on to have a wee chat with her. Natasha's the girl when it comes to the female team. I think being there is absolutely outstanding. The girls will enjoy it. Chelsea are predominantly one of the better sides as well, aren't they? They're always in there, thereabouts. I think of that girl's at Sam Kerr. She's their absolute superstar. I think she was on the face of FIFA as well. Always go back to FIFA. I'm a wee FIFA buff. I think Sam Kerr was actually on the page of FIFA. She's one of the first females to be shown on there. So it shows she's an absolutely outstanding player as well. And do you know what? To come up against them, these girls will be looking up to players like her. So that's like coming up against one of your icons. That's like me or you coming up against Henrik or Zidane or something. Do you know what I mean? That's like their equivalent.
And that's the thing. It's going to be a testing, right? It's going to be a testing. As Mick says there, as I sort of, from the brief knowledge I do have, with all due respect, I think they're in for some tankings here. That's the unfortunate nature of the beast. But it's about being there. It's about achieving that for the first time, and it's about testing yourself against the best, actually getting a real grasp on where you are. Because we look at it and we see it in our Women's Premier League here. There's about 5 teams that are actually really, really good. And then when you look at some of the other teams, they're like 6 games played, minus 27 goal difference in the likes. It's insane. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's 10 and 8-0 wins are the reg for the top teams in the women's division. And that's just the way it is. That's down to sort of profile, financing. Teams are part-time. Celtic and a few others are professional. But then when you look at that, as I say, any times I've seen them play against maybe like English opposition or things like that, it's levels and levels above. They're full-time. There's a lot of money getting invested in there. It's not quite the same here. But in terms of getting in, it's about profile, it's about building, and it's about getting a foot on the ladder at least. You can't say any better than that, and you've got to congratulate them and hope for the best. You know what I mean? Literally hope for the best. We're hoping for the best here. Celtic, different European football, particularly higher level in the men's game, a lot more finances put into it. It's more an expectancy here. Whereas I think that in terms of the females, yes, they want to go in, the female team want to go in, they want to give a right good account of themselves. But I think there'll be a wee bit of it that'll be, we're here for the experience first and foremost.
100%. What do you think on it? Obviously, the females, they play their games at Airdrie Stadium, the Excelsior. They play their games up there. Coming into Champions League group stage, should Celtic Park be offered? Should they say, do you know what?
I've not actually seen anything about it, but I think it would be, I think in terms of the feel-good factor around, and as Harry right, they're saying about the club are in a right good spot at the moment, we're in a good place, and I think if we want to capitalise on that momentum, then why not? Why not? Why not? If you're going to go, if the female team are going to be achieving something and they're going to be playing in their respective version of the Champions League, and give them that Champions League carpet rolled out. You know what I mean? Give them the whole experience, hook, line, and sinker.
Can you imagine selling out Celtic Park for a female game against Chelsea, Real Madrid? Or, do you know what I mean? I think it'd be absolutely unreal. That'd be class. Yeah, well, listen, Celtic, get it done. Get on it.
I think in terms of obviously we look at the profile and the crowds that have been getting generated with some of the English Premier League. There's definitely scope for a right good turnout if they opt for the Chelsea game in particular. Don't know so much about obviously how it goes with Twente and the likes of Real Madrid, but certainly looking at the profile of the there we go. Mixing already told the games will be at Celtic Park, so that is a positive. I think looking at that as well. But Chelsea with the profile of them in the women's game, the profile of the female Premier League down there and how well it's doing and crowd generation there, that could be one that get a right good turnout. So that's an absolute positive there. But in terms of that, Paddy, there hasn't really been too much other than that. As I say, it's been pretty quiet. There's not been a lot going round. I don't know if you saw, there was again chatter around about a potential maybe January signing, if you will. And we spoke about Luis Palma and saying about how, you know, what does the future hold for him? Well, if there's any solidity in this one, Paddy, the future might not look too good. So that was Bazumana Toure, who is playing for Hammarby in the Swedish league. Now, I looked at him, and again, this one really surprised me because we spoke about Arne Engels, and we looked at him, we looked at the age, we looked at the profile, we looked at the price point, and there was something a wee bit of a sample size, if you want to call it that. Now, the fee that was getting bandied around about was anywhere between 6 million and 8.5 million pound, right? Which I was like, wow, right, okay, have a wee look at this chap. So he's 18-year-old, Ivory Coast, plays in the left wing. So left wing straight away. Now we'd remember we were looking at Marius Bogus, who's also LAFC, could play out in that left and that kind of winger stroke attacking. So it was very interesting area in the house, the OG, and I thought quite interesting. When we look at this guy, this blew my mind. 16 games. 6 goals, 3 assists. That's this season, right? But see, previously that, he was playing in the Ivorian League, in the Ivory Coast. ASEC Mimosas. He played 2 games in 23 minutes. That's the sum total of the guy's career.
And they're wanting, what, 8 million?
Yes.
Come on. Is that again because they're looking at Celtic as being the money bag, essentially?
What was interesting though is there was a lot of teams who have been, Toti's been very interested in him, including Bayern, Leverkusen. There'll be a lot of named big clubs swirling about this young chap. Now, again, I am all for picking up hot young talent that's going to be bouncing on and kicking on us at a new level, unearthing gems before they're even unearthed, so to speak. I'm all for that. I just found that one really interesting. And if we look at, for example, Kuhn, we look at Engels, and we look at, you know, the way we've been scouting players, Bernardo and the likes, does this maybe show that Celtic maybe actually do have their finger on the pulse when it comes to international scouting and finding young, exciting new talent? Or is it just one? Is it just one? Because it came out of nowhere, mate. I'm sitting here and normally I've got a lot to say. I don't know what to make it. Without those numbers,
with that kind of price tag, with the amount of games, for me, it's kind of red flags in there. It's a wee bit alarmish. Normally, we bring in an 18-year-old and it's a kind of, like you say, a finder's fee, basically. You're talking like 1.5 to 2 million. Paying 8 million for you're wanting a finished article. You're wanting to be kind of bringing in a player, like you say, that's going to step into the squad there. I think this is a market. We said before that we wanted to be in that kind of bigger market. Obviously, bringing in guys like Engels and whatever, that's absolutely awesome. Has this opened up us actually going there and paying a bit more for a lesser player? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's saying here that there is been interest from Leverkusen, Crystal Palace, and Frankfurt. So, again, if we look at it, just simply based on, particularly, I like Crystal Palace and the English teams, they mop up all sorts of top talent, right? Regardless. But I always maybe raise my head and pay a wee bit more notice when you look at the German teams being interested. Because one of the things that German teams have always been fantastic at doing is getting the early bird and getting, thank you very much, there we go, look at this, what a man. And we always see they unearth exciting young talent, they get them at the earliest point, and then you watch them prosper and kick on. So I think if Frankfurt and Leverkusen are genuinely interested in the mix, that would maybe give me some sort of reassurance of what the price point's going to be. And I think if the price point's between 6 to 8 million or thereabouts, that's going to be universal across the board. I don't think there's going to be any Celtic tax because, Bayern Leverkusen are a far, well, maybe not in terms of history and stature, but in terms of if you look at them and go where their trajectory is at this moment in time, they're a hotter team than Celtic, let's be honest, in terms of what they've achieved recently and where they are. If you're a young side, if you're a young player looking at it, you're looking at Bayern Leverkusen and think to yourself, it's a team that's right on the up, with Alonso at the helm and the likes. So I do think that there's no Celtic tax, there's no increase, and I think if that's the price, that's the price, and it would just be interesting. But again, what's your thoughts? You got a lot of your fans are sometimes scared they spending money, scared they speculating, particularly on players like that where there's not a large sample size, there's not a lot to really talk about. Do you share that sentiment, or are you just happy to kick on and trust the process, if you will?
Listen, I want to trust them, I really do. But spending that kind of money on an unproven entity gives me the fear. It really does. 8 million.
So would you call Arne Engels, despite winning a bit season, and we've seen it really an unproven entity?
It's a young guy.
An unproven entity, although he was only 3.5.
Bernardo's the captain of the Portugal under-21 squad. He was basically running the show for the Portuguese national
Did you know that when he came into us for Benfica on loan, did you look at him and go, right, you get what I'm saying here? I'm just trying to play a wee bit of devil's advocate, a wee bit of hardball with you, mate,
It kind of scares me a bit. It really does. It scares me. Spending 8 million on a winger that we don't know too much about gives me the fear. I would rather look a little bit closer to home, like in the kind of European market, like say German, Belgium, these kind of leagues.
Does the Swedish market give you the fear?
Paying that kind of money for the Swedish market or the Norwegian market or the Danish market, yes, it does. Unless we've got mixed up and it's 8 million krona and we're getting them for 800 grand, that's absolutely brilliant. Maybe that's what the deal is. We've misread it. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely not, mate. It's legit. It's 8 million, but no, I mean that's it. In terms of, there's not really been too much, as I say, around about the charter. Other than that was the only other real sort of bit of a move that came in. And then if you want to really go into something boring, apparently the Scottish Government are talking about bringing Bevy back into the stands. That came out today. I don't think that one's happening.
That'll be carnage. Imagine letting Rangers fans back into Celtic Park and then letting them drink as well. Nah, I can't see it.
How long do you think would last? You used to be a betting man. If they brought booze back in, how long would it last?
Until one dafty decided he was going to run on and try and kick the ball away from somebody or try and attack somebody or something like that.
One weekend, mate.
Easy. Yeah,
I think Celtic Park it costs something like $4.50 for a can of juice. So I mean, I had absolute fear of the thought of what a pint's going to cost. You know what I mean?
It would be like being in Norway, but like £9, £10 a pint. That's what it would be. Absolutely horrible. You need to be a millionaire to get steaming.
Well, we'll see what's going on. But anyway, like we've went nearly an hour. So we just wanted to fire out a wee quick one because we've been away for a while there, and obviously Paddy's off, but I'm back to my work tomorrow. Boo hoo 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 hoo. Do you know what I mean? I'm up bright and early. The glorious time of 5:30 in the morning. I can't wait. But 5:30 later on at night, 12 hours later, I'll be sitting down, I'll be getting ready, I'll have a beer in hand, and I'll be getting ready to watch Celtic. Hopefully, steamroller St Johnstone and Perth. And Paddy, I'm going to ask you for it. Hit me with it. Tell me.
I have to. I really have to just go for it, don't I? I was going to go more. I really was going to go more. But listen, if you watch the podcast, you already know my result, my prediction. It's going to be 4-0.
Is it? You know what? Right, okay. Right, it's going to be 4-0. I asked you as well. You didn't come back to me and asked you earlier. What are we going to get in terms of way off rotation? Is it going to be Ida up front?
My team lineup right now, I'll tell you.
Go for it. Give me it. I like a Paddy prediction.
I'll not even start that crap. Schmeichel's in goals, obviously. Taylor, Scales. I'm going to go Welshie. I think you're going to start Welshie. I really do. Johnson. I think middle of the park. I think you've hit the nail on the head with McCowan. I really think he'll start McCowan in there. I think he'll keep Bernardo for international football. I think he might start with Rio along with Callum. And it will have Kuhn, Maeda and Ida up front. And then come half time when it's 2 or 3-0, he'll rest the players. He'll take off and then bring on your Yangs and your possibly Trusty. Other boys, give a few of them a rest.
Narodsky, another 10 minutes for Narodsky, maybe?
Possibly, but I'd like to just solidify it, and I don't think he does that for us. I'd rather have Welshie in there or a Trusty. Narodsky, like I said, 7 minutes we've had out the guy, and that's he didn't get injured. So
the thing is, it's all about getting the job done tomorrow. No matter how it comes about, getting the 3 points, maintain that clean bill of health in the league.
Yes.
Rangers playing against Hibs, a more difficult proposition for them. We'll see how that looks. We'll see how the world beaters are off the back of their amazing World Cup win, as it were, or champions of Europe, European World Cup Championship, snooker champions of the world win. You know what I mean? They win everything whenever they win a result. We'll see how they get on. But it's important that we keep our house in order, get the points over the line, hopefully get through it with no injuries, no dramas, and get ourselves rested and settled down as quick as we can. As you say, I would go with the option of best players, best foot forward, straight up, and then get it killed off nice and early, get the players rested, get them as, little game time is required on that game to get that over the line. Get him as fresh as we possibly can for getting into the game against Dortmund at the turn of next week and take it for there. But we'll have to see, and we'll be back to talk about it. I don't think that we are going to be sitting here tomorrow night. Maybe you will. I'm away out, unfortunately, so I'll not be here to cover the game. But if not, we'll definitely fire up something on this Sunday night, and we'll talk about that there. Hopefully, as we say, it's a very, very positive, and then we'll maybe get a wee bit more of an idea where we're looking as we look towards the game against Dortmund. So that'll be us for the time being anyway, and until then, hope you're enjoying yourself. We did put on it, we put up, make sure you check it out on the community page for this. Forgot to do it last time, but it's up. The one spare, the only one now in existence, are the ones that are for ourselves. CWO top, large, green, it's beautiful. It's green, white, it's Celtic to its nut, and it can be yours for absolutely nothing. All you need to do is subscribe to this channel, go to the community page, leave a comment, we'll throw in some magnets, we'll throw in some stickers, we've got a nice new classic design coming. That's going to be arriving at the turn of the week, so we'll throw in some of them with that as well. And if you want to do something as well, you can go on to the pin post X at CWPod 1888 for another wee chance to win it. Just free a photo on the pin tweet saying that, or tweet, what do you call it now? It's not called a tweet now. What is that? Is that a post? What do you call it, an X?
I don't know.
Something. Go on there.
Stick an X on it.
Got a wee photo on the X pin post showing that you're subscribed, and we'll pick somebody at random. It will be 100% random. We might even try and get it up on the screen with a wee spinny wheels so that you can see that we're not just picking somebody, and we'll get away to somebody totally free of cost. There you go.
The OG's on there. He's fishing for it already. He needs it apparently.
Listen, I know, and that, do you know what? That's the thing. Folk are asking to purchase. There's no purchase involved here. It's all free. See, if you want stickers and you want a magnet, messages. I'm going to
send us a
it
wee
to you.
message on X. Yeah, get a message on X.
It costs nothing. Like, it's the price of a stamp. Like, don't care. We'll do it. We'll send it to you. So if you want that, do it, and I'll put up there. And somebody had asked as well, we're going to make any t-shirts? No, we don't have any intention of making the t-shirts. It's a one-off. It's one-off to give away. If at some point when this grows, if folk really wanted it, I'm sure we could arrange something as a, at cost, whatever it costs us, costs you. No one to make it money, don't care. Folk want it, brilliant. Know what I mean? That's class. That's not the intention. Yeah. But that one's for free. Magnet, stickers, and we'll send it to you. And if you want any stickers, as Paddy says, hit us a wee message and we'll send you a selection. We try to get in as many as we possibly can, as often as we can. They are finite. We've got Darfleece, everything's brilliant, ridiculous. So anyway, we've jibbered on enough, shit. You've taken off a stupid tangent. You've made me lose my train of thought. Anyway, that's us. So thank you for every single one of you for watching us, because we know on a Friday night's podcast night, it's chock-a-block. There's a lot of people out there. Some of the bigger boys are on, but you chose to come here and listen to us. So that is it. So thank you very much, as always. And until the next time, as we always say here, take care of yourselves. And of course, most importantly, hail, hail. See you all later.
Hail, hail, guys. Take it easy.